Hey guys, I have a question for you. Hypothetically, if you didn't see the thumbnail and you didn't look at the title of this video, would you be able to tell me who this character is? And now I'm probably thinking yes, most of you would be able to tell me that's supposed to be Kevin. However, the key word there is supposed to be. This is a Thomas Wooden Railway discussion on the couple versions of Kevin that we have. And what you're going to notice is that, well, it's going to be hard to tell who exactly Kevin is and what he's supposed to look like. But in the TV series, we know Kevin as the very helpful crane that works at the Steamworks. Victor's kind of his boss, and Kevin's always running around, mostly doing his job, sometimes messing up. Kevin, I'll be honest, I've always kind of thought he was a bit of a useless character. It's like, yeah, it's kind of, he's like the little bit of comic relief, whereas Victor's actually trying to get stuff done. Kevin's just, yeah, boss, and he's tipping over and everything. But guys, what you're looking at, this was the very first version of Kevin produced by Learning Curve way back around 2009, 2010 for Hero of the Rails. Kevin, it's hard to believe. Kevin's been around for 10 years. That just kind of blows my mind. Kevin was introduced in Hero of the Rails, and he's appeared very consistently since then, because whenever an engine goes to the Steamworks or there's ever a problem, he's always there. However, you're going to see a very common pattern that Kevin's wooden railway models just do not look good. For some reason, they've come close, and there is a version of Kevin that I'm going to show you guys that I actually do approve of. But this one right here, I do not approve of this. So, man, where do you start? So, here's the thing. Kevin does have a weird shape. He's a weird crane. He's got this slanted face, and it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, exactly what his face looks like because his arm's always in the way. So guys, here is Kevin. That face, it could be better. Let's say that. I'm pretty sure Kevin has freckles. So we're missing some freckles. It's also very big. It takes up a lot of space. This face, however, I've actually come to appreciate it because if you're ever doing a custom and you need like a square face that nobody recognizes, man, this is your guy right here. This would be 2009 to about 2011, 2012 Kevin right here. So our crane arm is very, very long. Yeah, it's supposed to be a hook. It's in the shape of a hook, which is a nice detail, but it is magnetic. Towards the end of this review, I will bring up some magnetic cargo pieces, and we'll take a look and see how they work. So we got some nice detailing right here. The big thing that's missing, Kevin, actually has a cab because he's based on a real life crane, I presume. And in the real world, we don't have faces on our inanimate objects, so there would need to be a cab for Kevin's driver or operator to sit in, and that is just totally missing. So we have kind of this front area here, and yeah, you could argue that's the cab. Well, but I'm looking at a picture of Kevin, and there needs to be something back here because you need to be able to control the crane and all that and get in and out. And honestly, I have no idea what any of this detailing is. I do like the hazard stripes. The hazard stripes are a really nice touch. They catch your eye. The wheels here, probably one of the biggest issues with Kevin, and that's saying something because there's a lot of issues here, but the wheels, they're just your roadway vehicles. They're the exact same size on each side, and if you know what Kevin looks like, you know that he's a funky shape and he doesn't have these wheels. So I really don't know. My theory is that maybe Kevin was rushed along. They're like, oh, this is a prototype version or whatever. We'll come back and fix it, and then they never came back and fixed it. Another thing you'll notice, and that I've been fighting with this entire review, is that Kevin's crane arm, I like to position it up so we can see his face, and that's where it stays. So this is, maximum right there. You have to hold it down though, and if you let it go gently, it will kind of settle in that general area, which isn't too bad. However, you move it around just a little bit more, like if I go like that, and it immediately falls down. So we have a decent range of movement here. But the problem with this is that it's just right in Kevin's face. I mean, imagine trying to use this in an episode and get like a head-on shot of Kevin and his arm won't stay up. So I'm trying not to get frustrated, but there's a reason why this item was never in my collection. I only bought this item to review it, and then it will be promptly retired and hopefully never seen again. besides for the collection videos that I'm doing, because this is just awful. This does not look like Kevin. This does not feel like Kevin. We got an issue here with the crane. I wish it had more of like a locking mechanism so you could maybe like, oh, the tall height, the medium height, the short height. You know, it would be nice if we kind of had some articulation in here so that we weren't always dealing with, you know, somebody having to come along and manually fix the crane. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I could talk for hours about Kevin here, but we're gonna leave it at that. So that was the learning curve version of Kevin. When Mattel came along and bought the brand, we got this version of Kevin, and I will say that this is the best version of Kevin. It's really, really nice. The proportions are way more accurate, and we can actually get a decent look at Kevin's face because it's set way more back than Kevin's face over here, which is right next to the hook. The one thing about the hook, we have gone from a hook-like magnet, a hook-looking magnet, to just a magnet. A little bit of lazy detailing there. I don't think this would have been that hard to replicate, but that's neither here nor there. Let's take a look at Kevin's face. Since it is so far back, we can get a nice view, and that is a good Kevin face. We got some freckles there. The expression is much better than that one over there. We still got the hazard stripes. That's the thing. I didn't even notice that. We don't even have hazard stripes on the side here. We have them on the side, and so does this Kevin. But yeah, I mean, look at these two side by side. They don't even look like these should be opposite cranes. It's like if you're doing a custom series or something, you can totally get away, especially if you repaint them. You can totally get away with introducing Kevin as a separate crane because these look nothing alike. I really do like this version of Kevin. The one thing that bugs me is if you go look up a real picture, a real render of Kevin, he does have yellow wheels. And I am a huge proponent of colored wheels, which this Kevin does have, albeit they are the wrong color. But Kevin has yellow wheels, and this would be a very, very nice Mattel product if it had yellow wheels. I think that's the one major thing that's missing. We do have some arm articulation here, and as you can hear, it is kind of separated. We have two levels. We have an upper level, which I usually leave it at, and we have a lower level. But look at this. We have a cab area back here with even the Sodor Steamworks logo. I mean, the detailing on this is already out of the park. You know, you see that little circle back there next to whatever this is supposed to be? That is that right here. That is so much better. I have not come along and added all this detailing. This actually has a fair amount of detail for a Mattel product. I'm very impressed with this. The back side here, yep, we do have a magnet, and that's interesting. This Kevin has a magnet up front and the rear, but the way Kevin's front area works here, we got some plastic going on, just not enough space for a magnet right there. So that actually makes sense. And honestly, I'm pretty sure Kevin may have a coupling or like a hook on the front there, but what are you going to be coupling Kevin to? Hopefully nothing crazy, because his arm's going to get in the way for one thing. I was talking about the crane arm. Because of the way this is set up, Kevin's crane arm here comes all the way down on him. I mean, just smacks him in the head over and over again, giving him a headache. We have kind of this, I'll call it a little safety feature, how about? And because the cab is built up, it sits on that, and look at that. Even when it's at its lowest, it's still a very flat magnet, and it doesn't come crashing down on I shouldn't call it a flat magnet. It's a flat level. The magnet is here, and we don't come crashing down on Kevin's face. Height-wise, when they're at their lowest, they're about the same. You know, unfortunately, there is no way to get Kevin's magnet down to the very bottom here to pick up packages, which we'll talk about in a little bit. However, the detailing on this is fantastic. This is when plastic is used appropriately, and when it's used for detailing purposes, not cheapening purposes. I mean, it's very surprising that that's colored in. You'd think on a Mattel product, you'd think that wouldn't be colored in. This is actually a screw up here, but that wouldn't be colored in. And the thing is I always thought, oh, you know, the toy companies are lazy. None of this is colored in. Well, actually, when you take a look at a picture of Kevin, he really doesn't have any coloring up here. I think I'm used to the hazard stripes here that I'm thinking, oh, well, part of this is yellow, but then like the lines up here should be black. That's not the case, actually. Fun fact, Kevin has some security screws underneath. So if you have one of those fancy-dancy screwdrivers with the triangular heads, you could potentially unscrew Kevin and take this apart. And the bad thing is you'd have to get them back somehow, and that's probably what's preventing me from doing that myself. Another big thing, look, we got different size wheels. This is how Kevin looks. Again, I would love for them to be colored in, but this is something that I can live with. I actually did not buy Kevin new in box. He came in a Sodor Story Collection set called James Sorts It Out. And honestly, I think back then I was waiting for Mattel to release a new Kevin with the painted wheels, which is why I didn't get him right away. But Kevin, let's see, Kevin wasn't really introduced until season 13 of my series, which is when the Steamworks was introduced. So I obviously didn't have this Kevin, and this is the only one I've ever known in my series. But lucky for us, maybe unlucky for us, there's another version of Kevin out there that you guys probably know about. You definitely know it from the thumbnail. This is Wood Kevin. Let's see. I'll talk about the positives. Positives on the side here, pretty good detailing. It's not as interactive, it's not molded like that Kevin, but at least it's still there. So you can say, oh, the detailing is there. Another plus, we have different size wheels, and you can argue that Kevin's wheels are colored in, even though you take a look at a picture of him from the TV series. You know, his tires are black, which would mean like the outer rims here are supposed to be black, kind of like this one back here, and then the inner rims of the tires, we'll call them, are supposed to be yellow. But honestly, if you know, think of this Kevin with black wheels, he kind of fades away into the metal, or excuse me, the wood chassis that he's sitting on. This is a little bit different because it sits lower, but imagine how much this Kevin would pop if he had yellow wheels. Around the back here, all Kevins have a magnet there, but this Kevin does not have a magnet up front, and that is strange because there's definitely room for one. I don't know why there wasn't one. Again, I don't know really what you would be connecting Kevin to, but that's just kind of a lost opportunity in my opinion. It makes sense there's no magnet there because it doesn't fit. Look, there was room for this one here and they put it there. So maybe you could argue that it looks better because I'm looking at a picture of Kevin right now. And it looks, he has some sort of hook on the front there, but it doesn't really resemble a coupling. Okay, so we'll say, okay, this is accurate because, you know, he doesn't have a coupling, but, you know, hey, this is the wood range. There's no road pieces. There's hardly any track. You're going to want to connect Kevin up to other engines and trains, you know, because that's just how it is. So that's really all I can defend about this Kevin. The face is not bad either. It's harder to get a look at it because here's another thing. This is the shortest crane arm we are dealing with. And although it has two locking areas, we are definitely lacking in articulation. I mean, this is barely a change here. It's kind of, I will say, you know, if this had not been able to articulate, I would have ripped Mattel. But it's the fact that it does articulate doesn't make it any better. And you are coming down directly on the face there, if you guys can see that. You're coming down direct. I mean, you get some kids who are pounding this down. You're gonna, oh, that's not good design. The cab there is no cab because look at how squashed the proportions are. Kevin over here is basically a pyramid with a crane arm sticking out. This looks like an actual crane. You can see the cab in there. This cab is just kind of imaginary. We got some artwork telling us there's a cab supposed to be there. And as you can tell, maybe you can't tell, as we go along, the magnets continue to get bigger and bigger. This magnet's pretty small. This one's pretty big, but it's stock standard for Mattel items like Cranky who have magnets. This, I mean, it has increased in size. Look at that. It has increased in size, and unfortunately, the area that we have to look at where Kevin's face is, it's just small. And once again, much like this Kevin, I mean, look at that. You have that down. This is nowhere near coming to touch the ground. This Kevin goes way lower. This Kevin, yeah, lower still. Overall, it's like, okay, for a wood product, this is par for the course. The detailing on here is actually pretty good. But playability and just common sense wise, this is not a good toy. It's like, I don't really know what's supposed to be happening here. And I think part of the problem is that Kevin's just so weird. He's so weird looking that it's hard to get like an accurate version of a potential toy without going this route and being lazy. However, if you're a toy company like Fisher-Price or Mattel, your job is to look at the renders and make good quality toys. This is a good quality toy. This uses plastic effectively. We have a cab there. The proportions are right. Look how much higher Kevin's face is. So the proportions are way off on all of these models. On these two, the proportions are great on this one. So by far and away, this is the clear winner here. But I mean, look at this. This is how are these representative of the same character? It is, I mean, there was a reason I had to do this review, and these are the only 3 versions of Kevin that are out as of the making of this video. But it's like I had to do a review because they're all so wildly different. And normally that would be kind of cool because it's like, oh, look at all the compare and contrasting we can do and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, 2 of these are really, really bad. 2 of these, I would argue, are not even Kevin. They are very cheap imitations of Kevin. I think you repaint this, you have a brand new crane. This, unfortunately, this is you're just stuck in the wood universe and nothing's going to get better. You know, let me see. I got a... let's see right here. I got a Wood Diesel 10. Look at that. Kevin's taller. That's not good. I mean, there's a lot of problems with Wood Diesel 10 here, but it's a problem. That's not how it's supposed to be. Kevin's way low to the ground. So yeah, there is just a lot of stuff going on here, and it's not good. I mean, I'm going to try to line these up as best as I can. I'll put this one in the middle because this should be our reference. Let me try this. This a little bit more in the middle. This arm won't stay up. Look at this. This is... how are these the same character? This is probably... I cannot think of a more diverse range of Wooden Railway merchandise for a character than what we see here. Kevin's face is way too big. This is perfect. And this one, good size, but it's way too high. Man, I cannot believe, you know, it's until you get these things side by side that you really start to see how horrible these 2 are. But maybe that's just me. If you have a different opinion, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I think a lot of people probably aren't going to mind Wood Kevin because at least he's painted. Then I should mention that there was an unpainted wood picture floating around for all those... I shouldn't say years, all those months that we were expecting a Wood Kevin, unpainted Wood Kevin to come out, and that never happened. So this is actually the only wood version of Kevin, the one that's fully painted. I bet a lot of people are going to defend this and say, oh, it's not that bad. But let me bring in our challenge here. Picking up pieces of cargo, because that's what these cranes are supposed to do, because they have these hooks, and they're magnetic, so this is what they're supposed to do. So can Kevin reach this one? Oh, he can. That was a little bit surprising. Yeah, I guess it is low enough. Okay, very cool. So 2009 Kevin, off to a strong start. The problem is since this crane articulation piece does not have a locking mechanism, it's just going to weigh Kevin down this whole time. I don't even know about maybe the blue one is not heavy enough to do that. It's still going to bring it down. But as you can see, I mean, you know, Kevin, when 2009 Kevin comes along for this one, it is just stuck to the ground. It's not good. Let's try 2013 Mattel Kevin. Easy peasy. Look at that. And I presume the same. Yep. So, still gets weighed down. The locking mechanism is in place because I can click it down. So that's interesting. The locking mechanism is actually working here, if you guys can see this. It works so much that it keeps the crane at this angle, and then the weight of the cargo piece actually causes Kevin to tip forward. If I were to go to the down position, which looks like this, Kevin's fine because now it's just sitting on the ground. So that's actually kind of interesting. For the small piece here, oh, look at that. Yes, it doesn't stick directly at the top, but look at that. Kevin can run around, and he's not going to be, you know, he's definitely a little front heavy because this is additional weight. But look at that. This is where the test is. All right, it does. It does, and actually, I'm actually surprised. This is so heavy and so sturdy and so level that Kevin can pick that up. Can he pick this one up? Oh, barely. Barely. This is, I will admit, this is a very strong magnet. It's way stronger than the other 2. So this actually went a little bit different than I was thinking of. The only Kevin that can move around with a piece of cargo on his hook is the Wood Kevin, and it's because he's so balanced. And then you just give him a little tap, he's going to fly forward, but everybody's going to have that happen. So guys, I thought I would introduce that little challenge at the end there. because these cranes are supposed to, you know, you think they're working in like a Steamworks situation, you think something like that is going to happen. They're going to have to move pieces of cargo. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. It's obvious to me there's a clear winner, but maybe I'm not seeing something. In terms of the wood universe, you could defend this. I still don't like it, but you could defend it. We have a clear winner here by Fisher-Price Mattel from 2013. And this poor version of Kevin, very few redeemable qualities about this Kevin. I'm gonna leave his hook up like that because it doesn't weigh him down. But guys, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys have been liking the discussions. It's always fun to take a look at different eras of merchandise, and you know, now we're into different ranges and everything like that. It's certainly exciting. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And until the next video, this is Thomas Wooden Railway saying thanks for watching.